Long ago, in a quiet little village, there lived a humble cap seller. Every week he would set out from his home carrying a large basket filled with colorful caps, red, blue, green, and yellow. His journey took him from his village to the nearby town, where he would sell the caps to earn enough money for his family. It was a simple life, but one he carried out faithfully week after week. On this long road, there was a familiar resting spot under a huge shady tree. The cap seller had made it a habit to stop there. After hours of walking under the hot sun, he would place his heavy basket beside him, eat the simple meal he had carried, and then take a short nap. The tree became a symbol of comfort and routine for him. One particularly hot afternoon, after walking for miles, the cap seller arrived at the tree as usual. Exhausted, he laid down his basket carefully, sat beneath the shade, and began to eat. The breeze was gentle, the branches swayed softly above, and soon he drifted into a deep sleep. But what he didn't know was that this tree was home to a group of mischievous monkeys. Curious and playful by nature, they noticed the man's basket. The moment he began to snore, they crept down silently, one after another. With quick little hands, they lifted the caps and placed them proudly on their own heads. Within moments, the branches above were filled with monkeys wearing bright caps, chattering and laughing like little kings. When the cap seller finally woke up and looked around, he was horrified. His basket was empty. "Oh no, my caps!" "Where are my caps?" he cried in panic. Looking up, he saw the unbelievable sight, an entire army of monkeys, each one proudly wearing a cap that belonged to him. Years passed, and the cap seller continued his weekly journey from the village to the town, always wary of the mischievous monkeys in the great tree. Each time he passed by, he remembered that strange afternoon when his quick thinking had saved him from losing all his caps. With age, however, his strength began to fade. His steps slowed, his back grew weaker, and soon it was time to pass the business on to his son. One early morning, as the young man prepared to leave for the town with a fresh basket of caps, the old father called him aside. His voice was gentle but serious, carrying the weight of experience. "My son," he said, "listen carefully. On your way to town, you will pass a big shady tree. That place is home to a band of mischievous monkeys. Long ago, when I was young like you, they once stole all my caps while I slept. At first, I was terrified, but then I remembered that monkeys are great imitators. So, I removed my own cap and threw it on the ground. To my relief, the monkeys copied me, throwing down every cap they had taken. That's how I saved myself. If this ever happens to you, do exactly as I did. Don't panic. Don't fight them. Simply take off your cap and throw it on the ground. The monkeys will imitate you, and you'll get everything back." The son listened attentively, nodding with confidence. A smile spread across his face. "Don't worry, father," he replied proudly. "I'll remember your clever trick. I'll outsmart them, just as you did." With those words, the young man lifted the heavy basket onto his shoulders and set off down the dusty path, full of determination. In his heart, he felt secure, believing his father's wisdom had prepared him for anything that lay ahead. The young man walked with energy and pride, carrying the basket of colorful caps just as his father had done for so many years. The sun blazed high in the sky, and the dusty road stretched endlessly ahead. By midday, his legs grew tired and sweat trickled down his face. Remembering his father's advice, he spotted the familiar large tree and decided to rest there, just as his father once had. Placing the basket carefully on the ground, he sat under the shade, ate his food, and stretched his weary body. The cool breeze soothed him, and soon he drifted off into a peaceful nap. But history, as it often does, began to repeat itself. From the branches above, a troop of monkeys stirred. Mischievous and curious, they crept down one by one. Their little hands darted into the basket, snatching the colorful caps. With playful squeals, they quickly climbed back up the branches, each monkey proudly wearing a cap as if it were a crown. Some jumped from branch to branch, others clapped their hands, and a few teased each other as they admired their new treasures. Moments later, the young man awoke. His eyes widened in horror. "Oh no, father was right," he exclaimed. "These monkeys have stolen my caps." His heart raced, but then he remembered the wise instructions his father had given him. A confident smile spread across his face. "Ha! I'll outsmart them just as father did," he muttered. With deliberate movements, he removed the cap from his own head. He waved it in the air dramatically, then threw it onto the ground with a flourish, waiting eagerly for the monkeys to mimic him. But instead of copying, the monkeys simply stared down at him, their eyes glinting with mischief. The young man waited, certain the trick would work. What happened next left him utterly speechless. The young man stood proudly, convinced his father's clever trick would save him. He kept his eyes fixed on the monkeys, waiting for them to copy his every move. But instead of tossing their caps to the ground, the monkeys only stared, their mischievous faces breaking into wide grins. Then, to his utter shock, one bold monkey leapt down from the tree and landed a few feet away. The creature adjusted the cap on its head, puffed out its chest, and in its shrill monkey language, shouted something that made the others roar with laughter. Though the young man couldn't understand the words, he could feel the mockery in their tone. Suddenly, as if mocking him even further, the monkey mimicked him, pointing at the ground and shaking its head, as if to say, "That won't work on us anymore." Then it screeched loudly, and in the young man's imagination, the message was clear. "Hey man, do you think you're smart? Your father fooled our ancestors with that trick, but we have learned too. Our fathers and grandfathers taught us new tricks as well." The entire troop of monkeys burst into laughter, swinging wildly from branch to branch, clapping their hands and showing off their caps proudly. The young man's confident smile faded instantly. His mouth dropped open and his eyes widened with disbelief. For the first time, he realized that what once worked for his father no longer applied to his own time. Frozen in place, he felt foolish and helpless, staring at the clever monkeys who had turned the tables on him. The proud confidence he carried at the beginning of his journey had disappeared, replaced by a heavy realization. The world had changed, and he had not prepared for it. The young man stood speechless under the great tree, his heart sinking as the monkeys' laughter echoed through the branches. He had followed his father's advice exactly, but instead of victory, he was left humiliated. At that moment, he realized something profound. The world had changed. What worked for his father decades ago no longer worked for him. This simple but painful experience revealed a timeless truth. Life never stands still. Circumstances evolve, challenges shift, and solutions that once seemed perfect may fail in the present. His father's wisdom was valuable, but it was not an unbreakable rule. The young man now understood that knowledge from the past must always be balanced with fresh thinking and creativity. As he looked up at the monkeys swinging above, he whispered to himself, "The old ways are not enough. To survive in this world, I must learn to adapt." The story of the cap seller and his son teaches us all the same lesson. Experience and advice from elders are treasures, but they should not be the only tools we depend on. Each new generation faces different challenges, and every situation demands new strategies. Blindly copying the past can leave us unprepared for the present. Life is like a moving river. If we stand still, we get swept away. But if we learn, adapt, and evolve, no obstacle can defeat us. The monkeys outsmarted the sun not because he lacked intelligence, but because he relied too heavily on what worked yesterday. The greater wisdom lies in combining the past with fresh ideas and courage for the future. As the young man picked up his basket and slowly walked away from the tree, he carried more than just the weight of his caps. He carried a new understanding. The world will always keep changing, and no single trick, lesson, or formula can solve every challenge. Wisdom from the past is precious, but it must be renewed and reshaped to meet the demands of today. The tale of the cap seller and his son reminds us that experience is a guide, not a guarantee. The father's advice saved him in his time, but the son's journey revealed a deeper truth. Survival and success come not from repeating yesterday's answers, but from thinking, adapting, and creating new ones. In life, there will always be monkeys, unexpected problems, clever obstacles, or shifting circumstances. If we rely only on what worked before, we may find ourselves outsmarted just like the sun. But if we keep our minds open, ready to learn, and brave enough to try new solutions, then no challenge is too great. The moral is clear: do not get stuck in the past. The world evolves, and so must we. Old wisdom is a foundation, but innovation and adaptability are the keys to thriving in an ever-changing world. So the next time you face a problem, remember the cap seller's son. Don't just ask what worked yesterday. Instead, ask what new idea will work today. That shift in thinking can turn failure into success and challenges into opportunities.